Welcome to Reel to Reel. In this Men's Network Bible study, we're going to talk about the similarities between fishing and life. Things like the lures a fisherman uses to catch fish and the lures that the devil uses to catch us. How every man can relate to the disappointment of the one that got away, whether or not you've ever dropped a line in the water. Joining us are three champion fishermen from our annual Men's Network Fishing Tournament. Joel Brecher, a sales manager from New Palestine, Indiana. Chris Hansel, a Lutheran school teacher from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And Jake Oberhoy, a physician's assistant from Delta, Colorado. Also joining us, my longtime friend and fishing buddy, Reverend Jim River. And me? I'm Bruce Wordeman, the Executive Director of Lutheran Hour Ministries. Now, let's head on over to the lodge and get started. We're in Texas at the Richland Chambers Reservoir, the third largest lake in the Lone Star State, about an hour south of Dallas. I've fished here a number of times, and let me tell you, the fishing is great. I want to say to you guys watching, this is going to be different than the normal Men's Network Bible study. If you're a fisherman, you'll understand what we're talking about. If you're not a fisherman, you'll still understand what we're talking about because we're going to be taking a look at life from the perspective of fishermen. Now, don't think that this is a I'll make you fishers of men show. It's not. Jesus did tell Peter and some of his other disciples that, but what we want to talk about is how fishing and life share a lot of similarities. With us at the lake are three guys who were part of the Men's Network Fishing Tournament last year. Let me introduce them. From New Palestine, Indiana, we have Joel Brecher. From Delta, Colorado, Jake Oberhoy. And from Ann Arbor, Michigan, Chris Hansel. Guys, it's great that you're able to join us.
Hey, thanks, Bruce, for having us, man. This has just been awesome.
In the New Testament, there was a lot of talk about fishing. In fact, 4 of the first disciples were fishermen, and they left their boats and nets to follow Jesus. Jesus spent a lot of time on the Sea of Galilee. There's even a Bible story where Jesus served as a fishing guide. He told his friend Peter to cast his nets on the other side of the boat. Peter knew fishing and was, well, let's say skeptical with the suggestion from Jesus, a carpenter. Old Peter was in for a surprise when he went along with the suggestion, darn near sank his boat with the haul. Not a bad fish story, huh? Jim and I had a chance to talk with our guests out on the lake about some of their fish stories.
I've been asked before, what is it about fishing? Why do you guys like to fish?
It's just a passion. That's kind of like asking me, why do I like to breathe? It's just, I just love being out on the water. I love being on the bank. I love everything about it. Enjoying nature, enjoying the beauty of God's creation. And it really is a challenge. It's a challenge of catching the different types of species that there are out there. It's a challenge of, can I trick the fish into eating my bait? And it's just really enjoyable, and it's a good stress reliever.
It's just a passion. I don't know what it is. It's like I said, I don't know if it's a combination of the outdoors and trying to figure out what the fish are doing. It's a puzzle, trying to put the puzzle together and solve it.
Jake, I know you do more trout fishing than bass fishing. What do you fish for trout with?
Well, when I'm fishing with the fly rod, I like to go by the hatch that's going on, whether it's the salmon fly or the mayfly hatch, or if the hoppers are really good, we'll throw, whatever's the fish are hitting the most. If I'm throwing a lure, my favorite lure is by far a Thompson spoon. I just like the action that it has in the water, and the fish just seem to love it as well.
For those of you who aren't fishermen, each species of fish has a lure that works best, and most of those lures match what the fish typically eats. For largemouth bass, it might be a plastic worm or a crankbait. For bluegill, it might be a neon popper bug or a cricket. For a trophy muskie, well, A lot of guys have been trying to figure that one out for years. On this trip, we're fishing for white bass and hybrid stripers, using 1-ounce slabs that are brightly colored. The fish are about 30 feet down, so we're using a technique called vertical jigging. Basically, just dangling the lure about a foot off the bottom of the lake. The fishing has been great. Most of the guys are catching their limit within a couple of hours.
We don't catch them that big in Michigan, that's for sure.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it, that each kind of fish is lured by something different? Guys are no different. Instead of lures, though, I think the correct term would be temptations. While the guys out there take a look at some of the temptations that we all face, how about we go out and tempt some more fish?